this episode finally rolling for us. Well, uh, well, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to what is the ninth episode of What Did We Learn This Week? This is an episode where I share technology tips, tricks, and short lessons that I have provided to my customers over the last week with you. I'm Jonathan. I work for Minnesota State Services for the Blind as a technology trainer. If you've attended before, we're doing our intro a little bit faster. I want to get to the good stuff. So today is March 5th, 2021, and we're going to be covering three topics today. We're going to be talking about the magnifier built into the iPhone, the iOS magnifier, which has actually got some interesting changes to it in the last major update. We're going to show off some of those cool things, and then we're going to talk about setting up a HomeKit accessory. And those are really cool. Those are light switches, light bulbs that we can control using Siri. So I've got a couple of accessories here, and we're going to set one up and actually try it out. And then finally, we're going to have a discussion. We had a question that was submitted for us that is Google Docs accessible? Google Docs is an online or web version of a word processor. It has a word processor, but also has a spreadsheet and slideshow programs. It's like Microsoft Office, but by Google and on the web. And someone was saying they were getting files submitted to them in one of those formats and wanted to know, well, is it accessible? Well, we're not going to do a deep dive into it. It's a big topic, but we're going to talk about, is it accessible? And then what type of resources are we going to have to use in order to master one of these tools that's very commonly used by organizations and businesses. So like our previous episodes, I do want everybody to know that they can ask questions, submit questions to be discussed during our episodes with our call-in line. That's 320-428-0122. We also, if you want to sign up to receive notifications of new episodes, or you have friends, families, and or coworkers that you think might also be interested, be sure to send them along to the blind.support/signup. No spaces, all lowercase. blind.support/signup. And then recently, we started adding links to our recorded episodes of all of these shows at blind.support/episodes. And if you can't remember all this extra stuff, you can actually just go to blind.support. And the first link is to our episodes. There's also other great resources there. And I'm actually going to refer you to one of those resources when we get to the when we get to the Google Docs section of this page. So with that, I think we're going to transition in and talk about this magnifier feature. So we do a lot of focus on blindness tools. I do a lot of demos with VoiceOver specifically, but this tool is designed for our low vision users. So people who want to use the phone as a handheld magnifier. The phones have an excellent camera on it. And I ran to a client recently who was using just the camera and taking pictures and kind of pinching to make the photos bigger and using that as a handheld magnifier. And although that is functional, you end up taking a lot of photos that you don't really need to keep. And so there is a built-in feature called the magnifier on the iPhone. And we're going to be talking about that, and I'm going to demonstrate it to read something. I've got a boxed item here. This is actually a product we're going to talk about at the HomeKit section of this. This is a smart light bulb, and it's got a bunch of text on it that's all really small. It's a pretty small packaging, and the text is, maybe size 6, 7, 8, maybe something in there. And we want to get a better look at this. Now, we've used tools like Seeing AI to point at text and have it read to us. And this text is actually pretty good. I could use a tool like that. for that. But if I want to use my own vision, or I notice that there are some symbols and shapes that might show up on here that an app like Seeing AI wouldn't get, or I just need it a little bit bigger. It's just not quite there for me, and I don't want to have to deal with text to speech. I can use the Magnifier app. So
1:34 p.m. Voiceover off.
I'm going to open up my phone here, and I'm going to flip over my display so people can see what my phone screen is seeing here. This feature I certainly can use with VoiceOver, although I don't have to. If I want to start using it, there are a couple different ways of opening up the magnifier. Now, the easiest way by far is going to be asking Siri. In fact, if I activate Siri on my phone, I can say, open magnifier. And up it opens up into the iPhone magnifier, and I can immediately see a preview of what my camera is looking at on the screen. Now, I mentioned there's more than one way to get there, and I do like this method here, but you might want to be able to get to the magnifier without having to talk to the phone. And of course, Siri requires an internet connection. Maybe you want to use it in a scenario where we don't have an internet connection. So I'm going to do my home gesture or press the home button if you've got a phone with an iPhone. And I'm going to navigate into the settings and find the magnifier setting. So it's going to be under settings and accessibility. Now, I do have a lot of guests here who have no vision, and so I'm going to actually navigate there with VoiceOver, but if you have enough vision, you don't have to do this. So I'm going to turn on my VoiceOver, but the way I usually do it is with my home button, my accessibility shortcut. So on my iPhone, because it's an iPhone 12, I hit the side button because it has no home button, but if you have a home button, you can set it up to press that 3 times in a row. I also apologize if you can hear my dog barking. He's downstairs enjoying the fact that we've got a nice day and that there are people walking down the street. Usually he's sleeping up in the room, but he's enjoying watching those people cross. So if you can hear that dog barking. Yeah, I can see it's probably showing up on my monitor here. Just please excuse us here. So I'm going to turn on VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on. Messages.
And now I'm going to go into the accessibility section and show you where you can turn on the magnifier. Now I could go into the settings app and then into accessibility, but if I want to save some time, I can ask Siri, open the accessibility settings.
Here are the settings for accessibility.
Settings.
All right, and so in the accessibility settings here, I can adjust, I can find the magnifier settings. So it's going to be the third main option in accessibility. So I can press on it, or since I've got VoiceOver on, I'm just going to flick to the right.
Accessibility heading. Accessibility features help you customize your iPhone for your individual needs. Physical and motor heading. Vision touch button. Vision head. VoiceOver off. Zoom off button.
I was going to flick to the right until I hear
Magnifier on button.
Magnifier. Now mine is on right now, but you might find that yours is off. I'm going to double tap.
Magnifier on.
And quite literally, the only option when I tap on magnifier is an on-off switch, and mine is currently on. If you're using the magnifier for the first time, it might be off. When you use VoiceOver, when we use Siri to open the magnifier, it will automatically turn on the magnifier feature. So a couple things to keep in mind if we are a VoiceOver user. I usually like to turn my VoiceOver on and off with that accessibility shortcut, hitting the home button 3 times, or on my phone, hitting the side button 3 times in a row. It's a nice, quick way to get VoiceOver on and off. If you turn on the magnifier, it also wants to use that press the home button 3 times in a row shortcut. So we're just going to keep that in mind, that with magnifier on, if I press my home button 3 times in a row, 2, 3,
alert accessibility shortcuts.
It's going to open up my options for
selected VoiceOver button, magnifier button.
If we have VoiceOver set up as our accessibility shortcut and we add the magnifier is going to show up on this list. It's not going to immediately turn on VoiceOver anymore. Just something to keep in mind. if we are playing around with the magnifier. So if I want to turn on the magnifier now, I can ask Siri to open it, or I can activate the accessibility shortcut, home button or side button 3 times in a row and choose it from that list.
Magnifier, settings, grabber, magnifier, viewfinder, image, a keyboard on a white surface.
I've now got my magnifier running. Now, a little tip here, we're going to be first demonstrating this without voiceover on, but if I do the magnifier turned on, you'll notice if I do point it at certain objects and then tap the screen.
Viewfinder, image, a white and yellow box on a white surface.
If I have, and we talked about this in a previous episode with iOS 14, if we turn on VoiceOver's image recognition, that's in the VoiceOver settings, clicking to the right, you'll find image recognition and that is turned on and your phone supports that. If I point my magnifier at something and tap it, it'll try to give me a short description. This is done very similarly to the Seeing AI app's description. And it's a nice feature to have. Is it better than the Seeing AI one? Is it worse than the Seeing AI one? It's different. And so in some cases, it does a very good description. In some cases, it doesn't. Sometimes Seeing AI does a great job, and sometimes it doesn't. I haven't played around with this a lot in order to give us a bunch of examples, but you'll notice that this box read pretty good. And then I've got a lamp here that I plan to use for our next demonstration. If I point it at that lamp and give it a tap.
Viewfinder, image, a lamp on a white surface, a metal device on a white surface.
Called it a lamp, and then I called it a metal device because I was moving around a little bit. So I can use the magnifier with VoiceOver. I point it at the screen and tap, and it gives me a description of it. That is kind of a cool feature, although it's really designed more for low vision. So if I am using VoiceOver, I can flick to the right.
Grabber. Selected. Zoom. Zoom. 0%. Adjustable.
There's an adjustable zoom area where I can flick up.
10%. 20%. 30%.
And it will zoom in and out on the screen. I'm going to flick down here.
20%. 10%. 0%.
Now, this is going to be a little bit different if we're not using VoiceOver. So I'm going to turn VoiceOver off for a moment and demonstrate some of these magnifying features without it to show you how it would work if we're just using it as a magnifier. So I'm going to turn off VoiceOver, turn off VoiceOver.
Okay, VoiceOver is now off.
So you should be able to see on the display here, I see a preview of whatever the camera is pointed at. And if I want to magnify without VoiceOver, I just take one finger and I draw it up on the screen or down on the screen. And I'm going to use this box as an example with some text. I'm going to point my phone at it and I'm going to zoom in to make it bigger. And what you're going to see, and this is true if you're using the VoiceOver method as well, is that at this high magnification level, right now I've got it about 2 times bigger here. It's very hard for me to hold this phone steady. If you can see this image is shaking all over the place. And if you grab it with 2 hands, you can get it a little bit more stable or adjusting. Oh, it just is hard to get it just absolutely steady. And that's to be expected. When we zoom in on something with a handheld camera, it becomes harder to stabilize it. The phone does have a stabilizer, but it's so tiny and it doesn't make a very big difference when we're magnifying at large percentages. So what do we do about that? Well, in addition to just making the screen bigger, if I drag up from the bottom, it opens up more choices. Now, if my VoiceOver was on.
VoiceOver on. Grabber.
It's called the grabber. The grabber, if I double tap on
grabber.
that.
Select zoom, selected, zoom, selected, zoom, 0, zoom, 0, zoom, and select grabber.
So with the grabber, I forgot to describe this properly, but with the grabber, we can pull something up. And with VoiceOver, we do a double tap and drag up to pull up. If you are sighted and you're using just the plain magnification, we're going to just drag up from the bottom. So 2-finger drag up. If you are using VoiceOver, opens up a variety of menu items or choices. These include obviously how big we're magnifying it, but how bright, the contrast, the filter, and whether or not we're using the flashlight in order to illuminate what's there. Those are some interesting settings, but the one that I really want you to know about is this one here in the middle bottom.
Freeze frame button.
It is a freeze frame button. Visually, it looks like a circle with another smaller circle inside of it. And this is really the way that we are using Magnifier most of the time. So I'm going to
Voiceover off.
turn up voiceover and demonstrate this first without voiceover. What I can do now is without any magnification, I'm going to point this camera and the direction of what I would like to magnify. So I can see that the box is here, but maybe I can't see this text really well. And I'm going to tap the freeze frame button. And what it's going to do is it's essentially going to take a photo of whatever object I'm pointed at. What it actually does is it actually takes 4 or 5 photos, and then it tries to find one that's the steadiest. So if you don't have the steadiest of hands, it'll still capture a still frame that's not blurry. So it tries to grab a non-blurry version of it. And then if I don't have voiceover on, I can just pinch or reverse pinch, just like I would have photographed, to make this bigger. And I can zoom in and get a much better look. This text is so much bigger now. So I've got, it says 16 million plus colors. And it is talking about a this fancy light bulb that I have here. Excellent. So 16 million colors, a lot easier to see. Now, what I have on the screen now is just that photo, and all my buttons are gone. So if I tap the screen in the center, the buttons come back up. That circle that was at the bottom now has an X in it. If I tap that, it goes back to a live view. And I can now point this somewhere else, tap it again, pinch in to make larger, tap, up comes the buttons, touch the X, and I am out. If you are using voiceover to do this and you want to create a still frame, what I encourage you to do instead is to press one of the volume buttons on the side. The volume up and volume down function just like it does in the camera app as a shutter. In fact, you can even do this without the controls up, without voiceover on. I can point this, press the side button, takes a freeze frame, pinch to zoom in, pinch out to zoom back out again, and get a better look at my object. So that's really the way the magnifier is designed to work. We open the magnifier, we point it, we press the side button or press the photo button. It takes a freeze frame. We can now pinch to zoom in and out on that photo, tap the screen or double tap if you're using voiceover, and then at the very bottom, tap that circle with the X, and we can get out of our freeze frame. Now, there are a lot of additional filters and adjustments we can make inside of the magnifier beyond just making things larger. And I'm going to give a very short demonstration of those here. The most useful of all of them, there is a brightness and a contrast setting. We can adjust those, but the ones that make the most significant impact are the color filters. So let me show you what I mean here. I'm going to go to the section marked color filter. It's in the center of that control panel. And I can drag through and see these various filters. So I've got yellow on black, yellow on blue, white on blue, inverted. So inverted is a particularly useful one. I've got this box that's got a white background with black text. I've got it inverted, and now I've got a black background with white text. Maybe I can see with a red filter or a yellow filter. I have several clients who see better with a yellow filter on. So we've got a dark black background, and we've got yellowish text, giving us a much higher contrast. If we end up with these filters, we don't want them. We're just going to go all the way to the left. And we'll get back to the normal colorless, not colorless, but I mean regular standard colors. So the magnifier, you can ask VoiceOver to open it. We can use our accessibility shortcut if we turn it on in the accessibility section. We can point it, press the volume controls to take a picture, pinch to make it larger. If we go to the controls, we can adjust the color filters, pick out something else to give it, invert it, change the colors, and get a much better look at things. Now, unlike using the camera, and I'm going to press the home button just to get out of this for a moment. Unlike using the camera, it does not save those photos that we take. It's the purpose of it is for us to be able to get a better look at something, a closer look at something on the fly. Some people will still prefer to use the camera to potentially magnify because they don't want to keep those images. In the magnifier, there is, after we take a photo, a button that shows up in the top. So we'd flick to the left, or we're using voiceover, or tap the top right corner, where we can do things with our images, like save them. But it really is, if you're going to be saving photos, you might as well be using the camera or using an app that captures images and saves them. Seeing AI is a good place to do that as well. So that is a general overview of what of how the magnifier works on the iPhone. It's nice, it's built in. You might notice there's some slight variations depending on the version of iOS that you're running, but for the most part, it's as easy as asking Siri to open it for you. So I encourage you to try it out if you haven't already. So we're going to transition now over to our next topic. And this is a topic that is something that I've been working on recently, and that is the topic of HomeKit. So Apple developed this tool called HomeKit for developers and for us to use so that we can take home automation tools and set them up and use them. Let me put that in a better way here. So let's say we would like to be able to control parts of our house with Siri. HomeKit allows us to connect these various kind of smart devices that we have in our house together and control them, make the whole process of setting them up and using them really easy. So what are these type of accessories? Well, there are a lot of different tools. We're going to be demonstrating today an outlet switch. So this would allow me to plug this lamp, for example, into this little box that I'm holding. It's got a little outlet on it, and then it has a plug on the other side. It's almost like a really, really tiny surge protector. And it will allow me to turn this on and off using my phone and by extension using Siri. There's lots and lots of these. So I'm using an outlet switch today. There's also wall switches that you can literally install and replace your existing wall switches with. There are these fancy light bulbs that you can put into any appliance and control those. There's also thermostats. Ecobee happens to be one that works well with HomeKit, where I can find out the temperature and adjust it using my phone or using Siri. There are ceiling fans, there are doorbells, there is many, many, many more things, light strips, garage door openers, a whole variety of things. And if you want to know which ones are going to work with Siri, which ones you can just set up the way that we're going to demonstrate today and will work with your iPhone or iPad or HomePod, you can find a list of all of the accessories that's supported at apple.com/HomeKit. So no spaces there. It's apple.com/home, HOME, kit, KIT. They have a list of accessories here. We're going to be using the KooGeek, KOOGEEK switch. I've got two of these that I use around the house, but I also have some light switches that are Levitron, I believe. I've got these light bulbs, which are made by a company called Nanoleaf. I've got this outdoor switch. It's much bigger, rugged, can be out in the rain, by iHome. I got this one at, I believe, Home Depot. And the nice thing about this tool, HomeKit, is that I can get these from all these different manufacturers, and they'll all work together, and I set them up and I use them the same way. I don't need to download a bunch of different apps, for example, in order to get these up and working. It makes the whole process quite easy. And each of these devices that has HomeKit, there's actually a label that says work with HomeKit. Apple's got an official list of everything. So if you're not sure if it works, there is a little sticker on each one that says works with a HomeKit, or on the description of the product, or on Apple's webpage to confirm that it works with it. Now, there are smart home devices that don't work with HomeKit. That doesn't mean they don't work with the phone. That just means that they won't necessarily be able to integrate perfectly with Siri, which is one of my favorite features of HomeKit. That means some other smart home devices require an app to be downloaded on the phone, and for you to be able to navigate to that app to make those changes. Some of these are available. You'll see these all over the place. Others will say works with our Amazon friend, Alexa, or Alexa. I'm trying not to set off anybody's at home if you're listening. And those are designed to work with that smart home device. And you would set those up in that app or using the manufacturer's app as well. And many of those work just as well. Some of them work with both. So the way that you tell is usually they'll advertise it in the description or on the box. HomeKit means it works with Siri. Works with Alexa means it works with the Alexa device. And all of them will work with most smartphones. But if you want the voice assistant to work, HomeKit for Siri, Alexa for Alexa, just keep that in mind. Otherwise, you might have to do a couple more steps. So that's a really long explanation about HomeKit. Let's jump in and let's start to talk about what we can actually do with them. So I've got a desk lamp here that I would love to be able to turn on and off, or be able to tell if it's on and off by using Siri. And now, a real world, this lamp's pretty convenient. I can just kind of flip this on and off. I need to get this plugged in here, and I've got a cable. Give me one moment to adjust. It fell off while I was trying to get everything connected here. There we go. So if I just plug this in, I'm going to turn on my light. There we go. I want to be able to turn this on at a distance. I want to be able to know if it's on. I want to be able to turn it off. How do I do that? And now a real world example that I had is I recently for the holidays put up a tree, and I set my lights using this way so I could turn them on and off with Siri as I please. That was kind of a fun thing to do. So the way that we set one of these up is we just need to buy So when we set one of these up is we just need to purchase any accessory that says HomeKit on it. And somewhere in that packaging, there's usually going to be a little card, and that card has a sticker on it. So even if we don't know where this is, if we feel there's a little rectangular sticker about 2 inches long that I can feel on any of my accessories here. And that's going to be used for connecting here. Give me just one moment here. I'm going to stop back for a second. I just noticed that a couple people just joined us here. I know there was some confusion. My invitation went out and said 1 o'clock. I know previously we've done these at 2. And then on top of that, I was having technical difficulties at 1 and ended up at 1:30. So I want to apologize to everybody once again for the delay in getting this up and going here. We just finished our quick demonstration on the Magnifier app. And if you joined us now and you were hoping to see part of that, I will be getting this one up right away on blind.support, and then just click on the episodes link and we'll recap that. And we were just about to do a demonstration on HomeKit, the smart home device tool that Apple built into their iPhones here. So just because we had two two people just joined us here. I'm just going to recap just a little bit before I jump into this. So, and for everybody who's also been listening here, HomeKit is Apple's solution for smart home devices. If we buy a light switch or a special light bulb, I even have an outside outlet here, and it is advertised as having works with Apple HomeKit. That means I can set it up to use on my phone, turn it on and off using the Home app, and use Siri to turn that on and off. And it's designed so I can get these from many different manufacturers, as long as they're advertised as works with HomeKit, and I can set them up. So I was right about to show how we could use this lamp that I have here with this Koogeek, Koogeek HomeKit device. And the prerequisite before I get going is when I pull this out of the box, it's going to come with some materials, and that materials are all the materials that work with HomeKit have a sticker on them, usually on the pamphlet or manual, and I can usually feel it's about 2 inches long. It has some numbers in it. And that sticker, if the switch is large enough, will also have that sticker on the device. So this is all smooth plastic. It has a physical on-off switch, a plug on the front, and an outlet on the back. I should say an outlet on the back and a plug on the front. And at the bottom, I can feel this, there's a sticker, that same sticker. So it will come with at least 2 stickers, one on the device, and then one in the material as well. And that number is what we're going to use to connect it. We don't have to see that number. I'm going to show you, we're going to turn on VoiceOver and use that to connect to one of these devices here. So with my lamp here, I'm going to unplug my lamp, and I'm going to plug my smart switch into it. And I'm going to then, there we go. So I've got my smart switch. This should usually be in the wall. I'm just using an extension cable so I can show you all here. I've got my outlet plugged in here, and my lamp is currently off. Now, a lot of these switches here will have a physical button. This one's got one. I can feel a circular button at the top. I can press to turn this on and off. But turning a lamp on and off with a button is not exactly, the most exciting thing in the world. We want to know, how can we do this with our phone? How can we do this with Siri? So I'm going to switch my view back over again here so that, there we go. So you can see what my phone is seeing here. And I'm going to be doing this rest of this demonstration with VoiceOver on. If you do not use VoiceOver or large print, you can just follow along and I'll describe each of the buttons as well. So let's get VoiceOver on. Turn on VoiceOver.
Okay, I turned VoiceOver on.
All right, we got VoiceOver on. So in order to start this up, we're going to open up the Home app. Now, the Home app is an app you may have come across on your phone before and not even know what it is. In fact, most people I know that use it don't even know what that Home app is in the first place. This is the place where we set up and monitor and control our smart home devices. So I'm going to open up the Home app, and I'm just going to ask Siri to open it for me. Open the Home app.
Home, homes and rooms, button, homes and home set.
Excellent. So it's going to pop up here, and sorry, lost my train of thought here. It's going to pop up here. And as you might be able to tell, my house has a bunch of smart devices already plugged into it, already listed here. Now, if you're opening it up for the first time, yours is going to be blank, but all I need to do is flick to the right.
Add button.
And we'll start with our add button. This allows me to add a new accessory. So I'm going to do a 1-finger double tap, or I'm going to just touch on that plus.
Add accessory button.
It's going to give us 2 options, accessory or scene. Accessory is adding a new device like this light switch here. A scene would be if I want to tie multiple devices, like 3 or 4 lamps together, and turn them all on or turn them all off. Those are ones after they've been added. So we're just going to add an accessory.
Camera viewfinder.
So up comes the camera viewfinder. What it's looking for is that sticker. It wants me to take this camera and point it at my accessory where I have that sticker. So I could pull out this little sheet, or I could try to position my phone near that sticker on the iPhone. I don't
Select
have
an
to be
accessory to add to my home.
There we go. I don't have to be very accurate. I can put it in any orientation or any direction. And it should pick up and see that accessory. Now, normally it just connects here. I think I made a little mistake here. Let me check 1 second here. I'm going to flick to the right.
Make sure your accessory is powered on in your Rackio AE0 Levitons closed. But my accessory isn't shown here. Accessory not shown.
Okay, so I do have one little problem
Done.
here. Let me make an adjustment here. The issue that I have is this switch here has already been added. I turned it on while I was making some other adjustments here. So what I'm going to do instead of the Cool Geek here, we're just going to do a lateral movement here, is I'm going to leave this on, and we're going to do that fancy light bulb instead, because I do not have that one set up already. So let me just change my light bulb. So I'm going to keep this switch on. There we go. So I've got a light bulb here. That's smart. That's a nanoleaf light bulb that we're using. And those nanoleaf light bulbs are about $20 each, by the way. This Cool Geek is about $30. And the bigger the accessory, the more expensive it does tend to get. There's the Honeybee, the Ecobee, which is a thermostat, and that one I think is about 150 or so. So I'm going to use the sticker and this light bulb here, and I'm going to just add this one instead because I don't have this one added yet.
Add button.
So I'm in the Home app, clicking to the right to add.
Add accessory button.
I want to add an accessory, double tap.
Camera viewfinder.
All right, and this time I'm going to point it at the sticker instead. Or I don't have to be super accurate of the sticker.
Light.
Ah, there we go. It's identified that I have a light that I want to activate. So I'm going to flick to the right.
Add accessory. Add to home button.
And I have an add to home button. I'm just going to double tap on
Connecting
that.
to light.
I want to make sure that my phone is pretty close to the accessory while I'm adding it. Generally about...
Unable to add accessory.
Uh-oh.
Unknown error code. Connecting to light. OK button. Homes and...
Well, we had an interesting problem there. Let's just try to add it again. I'm going to flick
Add
to the right.
button. Add accessory button. Camera viewfinder.
So grab that sticker again, just kind of wave it in front of the camera
Light.
slowly. There we go.
Add accessory. Add to home button. Connecting to light.
Got to make sure I stay close. Usually this doesn't take very long.
This may take a few minutes.
So it's making a connection between the two because this device needs to connect to my Wi-Fi network, the internet connection, so I can have everything talk to each other. Hopefully this demonstration won't go south on me. I do have one extra backup if this doesn't work. Always be prepared. All right.
Connecting to light. Close button. Close alert. Exits. Are you sure? Cancel. Exit setup. But home.
All right. So I'm going to cancel that one out here for a moment, and I am going to try one other little adjustment for you here. I'm going to, I'm going to try adding just one more. And then if this doesn't work, I'll show you a demonstration of one that's already set up. So I suspect it might be a problem that I've got this phone connected and I'm showing you the desktop to it right now. But just in case, I'm going to do one more attempt here because these were some accessories I was fiddling around with, and I may have done something funny with the settings here. We're going to try this light bulb one more time here. So just going to slide that in. There we go. Our light is on.
Add button.
Going to choose
Add accessory button.
I am going to give the light bulb a couple seconds to actually be on because it is getting power and it's trying to send out a wireless signal, and maybe I'm not being patient enough.
Camera
Okay.
viewfinder.
Add accessory, move my sticker around in front of the camera.
Light.
There we go. It says light.
Add accessory. Add to home button. Connecting to light.
Let's see if it connects to this one here. And I'm actually going to temporarily, the screen's going to show up, going to disappear from the screen there. I'm actually going to disconnect this here.
Close button. Light location. Jonathan's office. Pick her item.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, my problem was that I was sharing the screen here on the display, and apparently it doesn't like that. So I'm going to reconnect it now that I think I've got it working here. I'm going to bring that back up so everybody can see it. There it is.
Close button. Jonathan's office. Pick her.
There we go. I think everybody can hear it. So after I have added a light, just don't be sharing your video on Zoom when you do this. What you're going to do is it's going to say that it's a light or that it's a switch, and there's going to be add to home, and then it's going to open up and ask us for the location. Now, I've set up several locations, and I can flick up and down to move through my location list.
Katie's office. Kitchen. Living room. Main bath. Create new room.
Here's create new room. I'm going to add this. This is in my office, so I'm going to flick down.
Main bath. Living room. Kitchen. Katie's office. Jonathan's office.
We'll add this to my office. I'm going to flick to the right.
Close button. Continue button. Light name.
And it's going to ask me to give the light a name. I'm going to call this desk lamp. So I'm going to flick to the right until I find a text field where I can give it a name.
Use the name provided or enter a custom name. Nanolife A192ER8 text field.
So it wants to call it Nanolife A192ER or 2 or 8. I'm never going to remember that. This, whatever I type in here, is what I'm going to use when I ask Siri to control the light. So I'm going to actually flick to the right again.
Clear text button.
We're going to clear this.
Clear text.
And we're going to dictate in a new name. I'm going to say desk lamp. Desk lamp.
Inserted desk lamp.
So if you didn't know, I had a text field editing with VoiceOver on. You can do a 2-finger double tap to dictate instead of type. And then there's going to be you're going to hit the continue or the done button.
Done.
Done button's on the keyboard, so bottom right. I can flick to the right to get there. I'm just going to jump there quicker.
Done. Continue button.
Find that continue button. It already jumped me to it. If you're not 100% sure the light's here and you can see the light, I can flick to the right.
Identify button.
And double tap.
Identify.
And you see the light flashes for you. It's kind of a nice detail. I'm going to flick to the left.
Continue button.
And it continue.
Light automations.
Now it's going to offer to set up an automation for us. That means I want the light to do something when a certain condition happens. And you can go in and do a bunch of custom automations. It sets up some defaults for us.
When first person arrives, turn on, switch. When last person leaves, turn off, switch button, off.
So it wants to know that if everybody who has an iPhone in the house leaves, should it turn off the light? And when somebody arrives who has this iPhone here, should it turn on? These automations, we can go in and say, hey, I want to turn it off at a certain time, or I want to turn it on at sunset, and I want you to turn off at 12 p.m. every day. We can set these up, and they are really useful. We're not going to go over them in detail just because we just don't have enough time to cover everything. But in order for these automations to work, and the only reason why it offers to it, we do have to have a device in our home all the time that's tracking these home automations. And it has to be either an Apple device And that means, and iPhone doesn't count because it's coming in and out. So they want an iPad, an Apple HomePod, an Apple TV, or a HomeKit compatible router. So Eros and a couple other companies make them as well. Otherwise, the home automations don't work. We can still turn things on and off when we're home with Siri, but we don't get some of the more advanced features because there's not something at home sending a signal to everything, even when my phone's not there. Otherwise, I have to be at the home for the automations to work. So I'm going to not apply any automations to this. Flick to the right again.
Close button. Continue button.
All right, let's double tap on continue.
Light added to my home.
And I'm done. Light added to my home. I
Done
can
button.
flick to the right till I get to done. Double tap.
Homes and home settings button.
So I plugged my accessory in. I went to home. I chose plus or add. I added a new accessory. I pointed my phone's camera at the sticker or the label on my switch itself. I didn't plug my phone in and share it on Zoom while I was doing this. And it asked me what room it was in. And it asked me what to call it. Now I'm done. If I want to control this light now, I can do it one of several ways. I'm going to leave
Messages.
the home app. The funnest way of doing it is with Siri. I can activate Siri and say, turn off my desk lamp.
Okay, the desk lamp is off.
And off goes my desk lamp. I can hit the home. I can ask Siri to turn it on. Turn on my desk lamp.
Okay, the desk lamp is on.
Okay. If I'm not sure if it's on, I can ask, is my desk lamp on?
Your desk lamp is on.
And I might hold this a little closer here so you can hear us better. But she's telling me that she's turning it on and off. And I asked her if it was on, and she said, your desk lamp is on. Very good. So finally, I might want to, because this is a light bulb. If there's a light bulb or a dimmer switch, I can also do something really cool. Set my desk lamp to 20%.
Okay, I set the desk lamp to 20%.
All right, she just dimmed my light bulb here, which is pretty nice. Set my desk lamp to 100%.
Okay, I set the desk lamp to 100%.
Excellent. Now, there's some other cool things I can do with this as well. This is a colored light bulb. So in addition to setting the different intensities of light, I can say, set my desk lamp to red.
Okay, turning things red.
Set my desk lamp to blue.
Blue coming right up.
Set my desk lamp to white.
Okay, white.
She'll actually change the color of this light bulb here. This Nanoleaf light bulb's about $20, and you can do some really fun stuff with it with the different colors. So
Messages.
the really nifty thing is being able to control it with Siri, but I can manually control and monitor my lights with the Home app as well. Open the Home app.
Home, homes and home settings, but
All right, up comes my Home app, and I can flick through and read through my various accessories. Now, if you've only set up one, you're only going to have one accessory in there. I've got a couple of them. So I'm going to jump to the accessories. You can flick to the right here. You're going to hear quite a few different things. I'm going to jump past the custom stuff into my individual lights.
living room corner light off button.
Okay, now
Actions
as I flick
available.
through, now as I flick through, you're going to hear a lot of my HomeKit accessories.
Entrance hallway off. Exterior front door on. Entertainment room theater off. Kitchen HomePod paused. But family room light off. But exterior outside off button. Jonathan's office heater off. Katie's office heater. Main bathroom lights off. Apple TV living room. Bedroom HomePod pause. Jonathan's office desk lamp 100% button.
So you can
Actions
hear,
available.
so I can hear the status of all of my accessories. I've got lights, I've got a HomePod, I've got light switches, I've got a lot of accessories here. Now we're on the desk lamp. And if I double tap on that,
Jonathan's office desk lamp off. Jonathan's office desk lamp 100%.
I can tap on it and double tap to turn it on and off, or if I flick up,
Open controls.
I can double tap
Desk lamp. 100% adjustable.
to get the controls. Now, if you don't have voiceover on, what you're going to see first is a light switch, and you're going to scroll up to see the settings that you're seeing on the screen right now. Since I have voiceover on, the settings are there. I'm just going to flick to the right to get them, but first we're going to have an on-off switch.
Light blue button. Light grayish purple button. Selected. Light grayish orange button. Orange button. Orange button. Orange button.
Sorry, I hit that a couple times. There's a couple different colors that'll show up. That'll only show up if you've got a light bulb that can do colors.
Orange button. Light grayish purple button. Light bulb button. Desk lamp. Text field. Actions event.
And eventually you're going to get to the name where I can change the name. I can change what room it's in. If I go back to the colors, this is kind of interesting here.
Light bulb. Light grayish purple button. Orange button. Orange button. Selected. Light grayish orange button.
I can double tap on one of these.
Suggested scenes. Heading.
Oh, sorry, I was in the
Desk lamp.
here, I went
Text
to-
field. Light grayish purple button.
You can double tap to get into the colors.
Include in home status on.
Sorry, here I can double tap to get into the colors and set up some custom colors as well. It gets really complicated with these colored light bulbs here, but it is pretty interesting. If I do have a iPad or HomePod or other devices here, if I keep clicking to the right, I can get to
Add automation.
add automation. I can double tap up there and it's going to give me choices like time of day. If I want this to turn on at a certain time or turn off at a certain time, I can go in and adjust those settings here. But the crux of this is open the Home app, add an accessory, point a camera at a sticker, give it a name, and now you can control that accessory with your voice. And I think that's really nifty. And I wanted to introduce everybody to that. And if you knew nothing than that, you don't have to go into any of these settings or adjustments. It's real simple. So that is a overview of the HomeKit, what it is and how to get in and make adjustments and change the settings. So a lot of cool potential there. And I just want to reiterate, if you have questions about this HomeKit, want to learn more about it or learn about the accessories, you can visit Apple's website, apple.com/HomeKit, all lowercase, no spaces. It lists off what you can do. It lists off accessories that work with it. And it even has some guides to go through. And I've been using some of these accessories for a very long time. Here, let me turn off that lamp. Turn off my desk lamp.
Okay, the desk lamp is off.
There we go.
221. Try again.
Excellent. So be sure to check that out if you want to learn more. I have had these accessories for years now. The Cool Geek one I've had for probably 4 years and going. So even with the new updates and software, it works really, really well. And if you think about getting into it, I really encourage you to start with one of these switches because you can use it with any type of lamp. And the light bulbs are cool, but I've got some accessories I like to use it with, and that use 4 or 5, and that can get kind of expensive a little bit fast, but they are a lot of fun. So that is HomeKit. So the last topic we're going to talk about, and we're not going to do a big intense demo because it's a big topic and it works on a lot of different platforms, but it was a question that came up from one of our viewers here, which is Google Docs accessible? Because so first of all, what is Google Docs? Google Docs is basically something similar to the Office suite, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. So Word being a word processor for writing letters, documents, Excel, which would be looking at spreadsheets and doing calculations. And Google offers a suite simply called Google Docs. And Google Docs Google Docs calls their spreadsheets just sheets, by the way. Docs for documents, sheets for spreadsheets. And these are web-based word processor and spreadsheet programs that are controlled usually on a computer through a web browser. They do have iOS apps, and you can access them on your phones as well. They were designed as a collaborative tool. Since everything's on the web, it was easy to access from any computer or any device, and easy to share with other people. In fact, more than one person can work on the same Google Doc at the same time. So it can work as a collaborative feature. And because the Google Docs is free, a lot of schools have adopted it as a common format to share with their students. But since this is not like Microsoft Word, which is a program we install on our computer or an app for our iPhone, it's not like Pages, which is Apple's word processor on the Mac, or TextEdit, their simple word processor, or Notepad. It's a web page. Using it can be very different than it is with using a native piece of software that's installed on the computer. So to get back to the original question, is it accessible? The short answer is yes. They have a team that works to keep those tools as accessible as they can. It was a tool that is designed first and then decided to make accessible later. So it does have some weird behaviors that happens when that happens with software. And unfortunately, that happens more often with software than it should. But they did put a team on it to make it more accessible. And they have support documentation for using it on iPhone, on Android, on Mac, and on Windows, including on Windows using multiple screen readers like JAWS or NVDA. But I did find, from my experience, it's a little bit harder to learn how to use than a native program like Word or Notepad or TextEdit or Pages. And the reason why is because these tools exist on in a web browser. And since they're in a web browser, our keyboard commands that we use when using a screen reader can change dramatically. So, for example, if I was in Word and I wanted to go to my file menu to make a choice there, or I wanted to go to my any of the menus or ribbon options, I would just press the Alt key, and that moves my focus up there, and I can start to navigate it. But since you're viewing Google Docs, which is laid out a lot like Microsoft Word is, in a web browser, the Alt command won't take you to that menu bar inside of the web page. It will take you to the web browser's menu bar, which doesn't have the tools you would need in a word processor. You instead have to learn an entirely new set of keyboard commands in order to perform some of those actions. Also, when you're inside of a document and you're with JAWS, you might want to navigate by heading. And normally the way we'd navigate by heading on a typical web page would be to just press the H key on the keyboard. On the Mac, we would use a different keyboard command, like Control Option Command H, for example, moves a different heading on the Mac. Well, those keyboard commands don't work because of the way that your text cursor exists inside of a text field inside of the word processor, and it's kind of grabbed focus. So instead, you have to use a navigation key command. So instead of just pressing H, you would press Control Alt N to open up navigation mode, and then press H. So H is the same, but we always have to throw in this additional keyboard command. So that was the big challenge, is that a bunch of the keyboard commands I'm used to using for using a word processor don't work, and I have to find a completely different set. And you can learn that, and you can manage it. And Google has tremendous documentation on all the keyboard commands and all the changes. And in fact, you can find that online by Google searching for it, but I created a shortcut for any of you who are interested. If you go to blind.support/Google Docs, no space, Google Docs plural, by the way. So that's blind.support/Google DOCS. I've collected the most common resources and tools used for learning how to use Google Docs with your screen reader. So Google's official page, which includes their list of keyboard commands, a special tutorial webinar that Freedom Scientific did on how to use JAWS, and an article written by a VoiceOver user on the Mac about how to use VoiceOver to navigate the Google Docs platform, because all of them are a little different and the keyboard commands change from platform to platform. So the answer is yes, it's accessible, but you're going to need to read and study some documentation. And that documentation is going to change depending on which platform you're reading it on. So it does have a big challenge. And if you try to go in just straight up thinking, well, listen, I'm really good at JAWS, I can figure out a web page. I opened it up and I probably spent about 20, 30 minutes getting stuck here and there and everywhere until then I opened up those documentations and started reading through it, and it started to make sense. There's one more very important tip to know if you're going to be getting into Google Docs, and that is in order to use that page at all with a screen reader, you need to turn on accessibility mode. And this allows the web page to know that you're using a screen reader and to try to fix some of the weird things that happen with navigating and keyboard commands. If you go through the documentation I sent you at blind.support/Google Docs, it'll mention open a document, going into settings, going to accessibility, and turning on accessibility mode. But if we try to do that without accessibility mode already on, navigation's a little bit funny. You might not know how to get to settings. So I have a special tip for you. Instead, you're going to go to accounts.google.com. This page handles all your preferences for how you use Google. And from there, you can press the tab key until you hear personalization. Actually, it's data and personalization. You press enter. Then you can tab until you hear accessibility, and you can press enter. And then tab until you hear screen reader, switch, and then you press enter to turn it on. That'll apply to all Google documents. Any document you're in, whether it's a spreadsheet or word processor, it'll apply the proper accessibility mode. You'll still have to go in and check out that other documentation and learn some of those keyboard commands for navigation. But you can do it if you are working with an organization that works with Google Docs, and that is the only way they access things. You can learn how to do it with the right tools. I do encourage people, though, I am personally, and this is a preference more than it is a rule, personally a little bit more inclined to using native apps, native software. Those are going to be ones like Word or WordPad or Notepad on the Windows, or Pages, or TextEdit, or whatever your favorite word processor is for the Mac. I am more inclined to use those that uses the standard keyboard command navigations. I find it a lot cleaner to use, but sometimes, we're working with organizations, we use the tools that they have, that they're using, and they might have very good reasons to use Google Docs. It might mean we have to do a bit more learning. But if it's only for one document, I might request if they could send you a Word version, and you can actually someone can export a Google document into a Word file to send to you to work on. So unless they're still doing it collaboratively, that's still my preference. And I think that might be the preference of a lot of you as well. So I know that's a long talking discussion. I usually like to do a more intense demo to be, but quite honest, I'm still learning some of this in Google Docs myself. And it's dramatically different. I teach people on both platforms. It's dramatically different from one to the other. So I didn't think it was a good time to do a demo unless we were going to do a whole episode. So with that in mind, if you are a dedicated, if you've worked with an organization that's dedicated to Google Docs and you would really like to get a bigger demo on it, if I get a couple of requests coming in, I'll put in that extra work and I'll put together a nice demo for everybody as well. And so if that is true, send a call into our question line and just let us know that's important to you. That's 320-428-0122 is our question line here. That's 320-428-0122. And I'm going to switch over to question and answer here in just a moment, but I do want to reiterate too that if you want to have anybody sign up for any of these future episodes, blind.support/sign up. Please share that with anybody else. And all our archived episodes are going on at blind.support/episodes. Or if you just go to blind.support, the first link on the page is episodes. So with that, we're going to switch over to a question and answer here. Now, because we started at kind of a weird time here, I know some of you just joined, maybe didn't get to see some of that magnifier demo. If you were like, that's what I came for and I missed it, we will have that archived version of this online. But if you'd like to, if we don't have any other questions, I'd be happy to recap some of that for any of you here as well. We are doing this as the Zoom webinar. And if you're wondering if you can see me, I'm looking off to the side here. I'm looking at my computer screen, which has a list of all of our attendees here. And if you have a question or that you'd like to talk about, if you're on a Windows computer, that's Alt-Y, or it's Option Y if you're on a Mac. And if you are calling in on the phone line, you press *9. And at that point, I'll see you have a question and I can unmute you so you can ask that. In the meantime, will any of you think about or process your questions here? There is another thing I just want to mention that other people might notice. I was just reading an article about, speaking of just things we've learned this week, is that you're probably, if you're anything like me, you've been experiencing a lot of scam or robocalls in the last couple of weeks. And you might feel like it's gone up and you're trying to figure out what's going on. I've been getting so many more of these than usual. Well, I was reading an article recently, and it turns out it's not just me. It's in fact everybody. Scam and robocalls have gone up somewhere between 14 and 20% in the last couple of days to the last couple of weeks. A lot more of these scam calls are happening. And you might wonder, well, why? What's going on right now? And the answer is, as so many things are right now, the answer is COVID. And what happened was at the very beginning, where COVID started to hit, a lot of these robocalls, or even sometimes it's people send robocalls. It's a robocall, you get an automated message saying, there's something wrong. This is Social Security. You owe us money. You have to call this number immediately. Or you might get another robocall that says, oh, we found a virus on your computer. Please dial 1 or call this number. All those robocalls want to relay you to a human being. And a lot of these scam calls, they're not a single person. A lot of them are in these facilities with lots of callers all sitting next to each other. And when COVID hit, a lot of these centers, well, they closed down like so many other businesses did. And so they stopped sending their robocalls out as much, because if someone dialed 1, they didn't have someone to answer the phone and try to get you to give them credit card numbers, etc. So the number of robocalls actually went down. I hadn't even considered this. Well, now, and in several places where a lot of these are happening, the restrictions are going down, or they figured out how to adjust, or they sent people to work at home, just like any other business. And that means robocalls are on the rise and scam calls are on the rise. So I thought that was interesting, that I hadn't thought and connected those two things together. But the second point is that we need to be a bit more diligent. Remember, if someone calls you claiming to be any of the major technology companies, Apple or Google or Microsoft, or someone claims to be from Social Security or claims to be up from the IRS, or for example, almost all of those are scams. And if you're ever unsure, and it's okay to be unsure, I've gotten some really good ones, um, then it's always okay to just hang up on whoever it is and call the actual number. Call your credit, call your bank, uh, uh, look up the actual number for those groups and give them a call and verify that it was them. If you're ever unsure, just hang up and call a number that you know is safe. So just general advice for you. I will put one asterisk next to there. I did have a client once who got a call from someone claiming to be from Yahoo. They had an email address and they said that their account had been locked. And so they Googled Yahoo phone support. And up came a phone number, first result on Google, and they called it. And it was someone trying to get them to spend money. And they knew that that seemed suspicious. And so they did come to me and say, Jonathan, I looked up their phone number and I called them. It was still a scam. How did that happen? And the answer was that Yahoo doesn't have a phone support line. And so somebody had created a web page and they were Yahoo phone support. And Google was putting them at the top. They were also paying for advertising. That's not super common, but that can happen. So just because we Google something doesn't mean that that number is necessarily right. We should try to find someone that we trust, or we should always be aware. There's a lot of scams out there, unfortunately. And so we just have to be diligent and careful. And if we're not sure, make sure to ask a friend, a family member who is also in the know as a backup. So that's what happened with that Yahoo one. Now remember that the best thing to do is just don't give anybody your credit card number, even if you find their number on the internet or they call you. When I know a lot of people know that rule, but I do have things happen. So that's just an interesting piece of information from the last week I thought I would share with you. So I'm not seeing any hands getting raised here. So I think that means we're pretty good here with what we've talked about. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I must apologize for the confusion with the setup. We will get this one recorded and uploaded. So if you did miss a portion of it, know that you can pick it up at Love It to Bits. Not Love It to Bits, sorry. I have another webpage called Love It to Bits. You can pick this up at blind.support and just go to the episodes section. So everybody, thank you for joining us. Send us your new ideas for questions. Otherwise, we will have another meeting here in about 2 weeks. I will send that invitation out sometime mid next week. Just to note with everybody for corrections, we'll be extra. We've got the technology problems solved as of today, so we'll be starting right on time. But next week's not next week, but the week after. So today's the 5th. This will be the 19th. So the next one will be on the 19th. It'll be at 2 o'clock, our normal time. And unlike today, it'll be at 2 o'clock our normal time. And I'll get those invitations sent out. And I also will encourage you to invite anybody else you know that you think might be interested. The link that I send you, you can forward that along to anybody, and they can use that to join as well. I am also hoping, although I can't make direct promises here, I am starting to work on creating a new training series for voiceover that starts at the very basics, something that will be easy to follow along, and that will even try to get in working on those National Library 6, the NLS players, if you got one of those. And we'll be previewing each of those new episodes here on this show first. And then once we build up a collection of those, I'm going to offer ways to send that off. And we'll post that, of course, on the blind.support page. But we're going to break that into smaller pieces and kind of feed that out as time goes on. So we have by the end, hopefully we'll have a comprehensive voiceover training series. But as part of that, we're going to start getting into apps, specific apps, and we're going to try to build out all of the core Apple apps. But there's some that you find are really important and you'd like those to be at the beginning of the list, let us know. That's 320-428-0122. Once again, 320-428-0122. I know I've said that number about a dozen times already. All right. So thank you all again for joining us. And have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Enjoy, if you're in Minnesota, enjoy some of this nice, warm weather we're going to have. Thanks again.